Hi and welcome back. In this part of the chapter, we'll be learning about the plant kingdom in detail. We will be learning that what are the groups and the subgroups that this plant kingdom is divided into, and what are the differences or what are the similarities between these divisions. Okay, so let's get started. The first level of classification among plants depends on whether the plant body has well differentiated distinct parts. So, since kingdom Plantae, this will be comprising of many and millions and many means millions and billions of organisms. So there has to be some other grounds. All right, we have to look at some other you can say criteria, and we have to assess those grounds, we have to assess those criteria, and then we have to figure out that this is the basis of division. On these grounds, we will be dividing these organisms into part A and these into part B, or these could be, the subdivision of part B. Okay, so we will be looking at 3 to 4 major divisions, 3 to 4 major criteria on we will be dividing this kingdom Plantae into further phylums and into further groups. So the first category is whether the plants, they have well differentiated distinct parts or not. So plants, they exist in all shapes and sizes and all different structures. Okay, some plants could be more advanced, could be more complex than some other species of plants that are, say, more simple or comparatively primitive in nature, comparatively primitive in function as compared to the advanced one. Okay, so they are differentiated in the sense that some plants have distinct stems, roots, and leaf structures, everything, and some plants, they don't have these definite divisions. They only have some aerial structures. You can say you can see that in the example of grass, that it has just the aerial structure and it has just the roots. There is no division of roots. There is no division of distinct leaves. Okay, and no division of stems. Not all plants bearing stems, they also prosper later into woods, right? So for example, you have a mango tree. Okay, and you have, for example, you have other climber plants like cucumbers. Okay, so the plant of cucumber, that does not bear you wooden barks, but mango trees, they do. Okay, so these are the division, these are the different kind of differentiation into distinct body parts. So well differentiated distinct body parts could be taken as one criteria, one ground. The other is the transport of water and other substances. And you know that we have learned this in the tissue chapter, that transport of food and other substances or water and other substances like food is done by two sets of tissue that combine together to form a structure that is known as the vascular bundle, a tissue that is known as the vascular bundle. So other basis of division could be, other ground of division could be on the basis of plants who are having vascular bundle and plants which are not having vascular bundle. Further classification could be ability to bear seeds and whether seeds are enclosed within fruits. So seed bearing plants, not all plants bear seeds, right? And some which do, they either bear it naked, means there are no enclosed structure, the seeds are spread in the open, all right, and some plants in those other sort of plants, seeds are present, but seeds are enclosed in a structure, and that structure is that structures, they are fruits. So for example, in pines, if you look at a pine tree, that the seeds of the pine trees, they are naked, they are big and they are naked, they are not enclosed in an outer covering, they are not enclosed in an outer structure. But for example, again, mango seeds, they are covered inside the mango fruit. When you eat a mango, when you eat that guthli, so the inside part, that is the seed, all right, which you just you suck and eat the outside part, but you leave the seed part, right? So some plants, they bear fruits, and inside fruits are the seeds, and some plants, they do not bear fruits, but they bear seeds, and those seeds are not enclosed any other outer structure. So this could be taken as another criteria for division. On the basis of this criteria, we have this flow chart over here. So we have plants, and we have plants that are not differentiated into distinct body parts, These are known as Thallophyta. Example is Pyrogyra. Okay. Now, disclaimer, we will be learning about various different subdivisions and divisions. So, we will be having distinct names for each of these categories. Okay, the best thing that you can do is you can first understand the concept that these are the criteria, these are the grounds of which the classification is happening, and then you can attempt to read, and while you're reading it, the multiple times that you're exposing yourself to this flow chart and to this criteria, you will slowly and gradually be also able to remember the different names. Okay, so you have the Thallophyta. These do not have differentiated plant bodies, and the other plant structures that have differentiated plant bodies, in that you will be again dividing this into two categories on plants that do not have specialized vascular tissue, that means that do not have xylem and phloem. These are the Bryophyta. Example moss. And then you have the plants with vascular tissue, means plant that can conduct food and water through tissues through xylem and phloem. And in that also you have two categories. Okay, so one that cannot produce seeds. Remember those three categories. This is the category 1, this is the category 2, and this is the category 3. Okay, so under those vascular tissue plants, we have the third category, that plants who cannot bear seeds, okay, at all. These are Terridophyta. Okay, and then plants that produce food, plants that produce seeds, these are the Fenerogans. Okay, so again I'm repeating it for you. We have plants that do not have differentiated plant parts. These are Thallophyta. Okay, first category. Then you have plants that have differentiated body parts, differentiated tissues. What kind of tissues? Vascular tissue. So two categories. Plants that have distinct differentiated plant body parts, but they do not have vascular bundle. These are your Bryophyta. Then plants that do have vascular tissue, but they do not bear seeds. They do not produce seeds. These are the Terridophyta. Okay, and the last category, that plants that do produce seeds, okay, these are the Phanerogams. There is a further division of this Phanerogams, means plant with vascular tissue, plants with vascular tissue. Those that have vascular tissue but cannot produce seeds, they are the Terridophyta, and those that do produce seeds, these are the Phanerogams. Okay, and Phanerogams again can be divided into two parts. If you remember again the third category, that seeds, plants that can bear seeds nakedly, means there is no other outer covering, means there is no other fruit or the external structure. So these bear naked seeds. These are the Gymnosperms. Example is the pinus, that pine seeds example that I gave you. And the other category could be the plants that bear seeds that are enclosed in an outer structure, that are not naked. Okay, so these bear naked seeds, and these bear seeds in enclosed structure. These structures are fruits. So these are the Angiosperms, and Angiosperms are further divided into dicots and monocots. So Cotyledon are the structures that you get inside a seed, okay, inside a plant seed. And depending upon whether a seed bearing fruit, whether a seed bearing plant has one Cotyledon, we can divide it, that those kind of plants can be divided into monocots, and plants that have two Cotyledons, those kind of plants can be divided into the dicots category. So in the dicot categories, you have P as an example. Okay. Now you have the Thallophyta category, that if you remember the first category, that these plants that do not have well differentiated body parts fall under this category. The plants in this group, they are commonly called algae. Okay, plants in this group are commonly called algae. This is another name, so just remember this. And these plants are predominantly aquatic. They do not they do not dwell on land majorly. They majorly dwell in water bodies. So they are aquatic. Examples are Spirogyra, Eulothrix, Cladophora, and Cara. Okay. Now you come to Bryophyta. So you remember Bryophyta, these are plants that are differentiated into distinct body parts, but they do not have vascular bundle. Okay, so there is no specialized tissue for conduction of water, but these are differentiated to form stem and leaf-like structures. And these Bryophyta, like Thallophyta is known as algae, so Bryophyta is commonly called the amphibians of the plant kingdom. And there is a reason, because they dwell on land. These plants, they dwell on land, but they depend on water for reproduction. Okay, they depend on water for reproduction, so that their similar identical cells could be produced, could be, their species could be propagated. Okay, so these are known as amphibians of the plant because they dwell on land, but they depend on water for reproduction. All right, and there is no vascular bundle present in Bryophyta, but it is differentiated into distinct body parts. Examples are moss, funaria, and mertensia. Okay. Moving on, you are having plants that do have vascular tissues, but plants that do not bear seeds. So, Terradophyta are the plants that do not bear seeds. Okay. So, here the body part is definitely differentiated into roots, stems, and leaves, and it has vascular bundle, so it has specialized tissue for the conduction of water and other substances, but they do not bear seeds. And examples are Marsilia, ferns, and horsetails. Important fact. Now, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Terridophyta. Thallophyta, they are not differentiated into distinct parts. Bryophyta, they are, but they do not have vascular bundle. Terridophyte, they are also differentiated into distinct parts. They do have vascular bundle, but they do not bear seeds. Okay, so these three categories, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Terridophyta, they are very inconspicuous. The reproductive organs of these plants, they are very inconspicuous. Inconspicuous means they are hidden. They have hidden reproductive organs, and because of them being hidden, these three are also known as cryptogams. Okay, like we have the Fenerogams, and the Fenerogams are divided into Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. So these three categories, Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Terridophyta, they are known as cryptogams because their sexual organs, they are hidden. Okay. On the other hand, plants with well differentiated reproductive parts that are likely to bear seeds. Obviously, if you have distinct, clearly visible reproductive parts, so those plants would be able to bear seeds, and they are known as Fenerogams. Okay, and we we know that seeds, they are the result of sexual reproduction process. So when there is a sexual reproduction process taking place, as a resultant, you will get seeds. So all Fenerogams, they produce seeds. Terridophyta, they are not seed bearing plants, so there is no sexual reproduction happening there. So they consist of embryo these seeds, they consist of embryo along with the stored food that the embryo may require for its initial subsistence, for its initial sustenance, and further on when this embryo will grow into the plant body, then the distinct body parts will be divided, and then it will be able to produce its own food. So this embryo, it exists with stored food which assists for the initial growth of the embryo during germination. Now, we know that Fenerogams, they are divided into two categories. These are seed-bearing plants, right? So, they are divided into two categories, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. Okay, the Gymnosperms, if you remember, the seeds there are naked, means there is no external structure, and the Angiosperms, they are enclosed in fruits, means the seeds in Angiosperms, they do not occur naked in the plant body, but they are rather covered inside an external structure. They are rather covered inside fruits. So as you can see in the diagram, cryptogamy, Thallophyta, Bryophytes, and Terridophytes, and Fenerogamy, you have Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. So in this part, you saw the division of the plant kingdom into various parts. Alright, in the second part of this plant kingdom, now we will be learning about these two divisions of Fenerogams, that is Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. In this second part of the plant kingdom, we will be continuing our discussion on the further divisions and subdivisions, and in this particular part, we will be having a look at Fenerogams. Okay, we will be having a look at the Fenerogams, and we will be studying the parts that these Fenerogams is divided into, that is Gymnosperms, in which the seed they bear the gymnosperms are those plants that bear naked seeds, and you will have angiosperms, those plant structures that bear seeds, but those seeds are not naked, they're not present naked, but rather they are enclosed in a structure, in an enclosed structure known as fruit. So firstly, we are having the gymnosperm. The term is derived from two Greek words. Gymno means naked and sperma means seed, means naked seed, means open seeds, means seeds that are not enclosed inside any external structure. Okay, so these plants, they are perennial, evergreen and woody. Okay, examples are pine and deodar. If you look at a pine tree or a deodar tree, you won't see any flowering fruits. Okay, but rather you'll be witnessing some naked, some bigger structures. Those structures are naked seeds. Okay, and the characteristic, the feature of these gymnosperms are that they are perennial, they are evergreen, and they are woody. Then you have the angiosperm. Angio means covered and sperma means seed. So from the name you can determine that it means plants whose seeds are covered. Okay, covered inside what? Covered inside fruits. So these plants are also known as flowering plants because flowering plants, they produce fruits, and inside fruits what do we get? We get seeds. Okay, so the seeds develop inside an ovary of the flowering plant. Ovary is an organ of this flowering plant, and this ovary, after the sexual reproduction takes place, after the embryo is formed, this ovary is modified to become a fruit. Okay, plant embryos in seeds have structures called cotyledons. Like I told you that angiosperms are divided into two categories, dicots and monocots. So this embryo after the reproduction has happened, they have structures known as cotyledons, and depending upon whether their structure is 1 in number or 2 in number, angiosperms are divided into two categories, monocots and dicots. So we are having an activity. We will take some green gram or wheat, maize, peas and tamarind, and we'll soak the seeds of all these plants. Okay, and once they become dry, once they become tender, you try to split the seed, and then you see that how many parts the seed is breaking into. Okay, if the seeds are breaking into two nearly equal halves like this, as you can see in the diagram, then the seed is dicot. And if you see that they are not breaking into distinct parts, then they are the monocot seeds. Alright, then you take a look at the other body parts of these examples that you have taken: roots, leaves and flower. Now monocots and dicots, the major distinction obviously is that monocots, they have one cotyledon, monocot plants, and dicot plants, they have two cotyledon, but there are other differences between this as well. The first major difference is that monocot plants, they have fibrous roots, and dicot plants, they have taproots. So if you remember, taproot, in the taproot you have one longer structure, one is the primary root, and then you have other secondary or tertiary structure coming up. Alright, in the taproot system you have one primary root, and in the fibrous root, if you may remember, they are in a very reticulate like fashion. Alright, means there is no one primary structure. Roots, they come and they divide and further divide and keep on dividing. Okay, so monocot plants, they have fibrous roots, and dicot plants, they have taproot. This is one other distinction between monocots and dicot plants. Other distinction is that monocot plants, they have parallel venation. Means in the leaves of monocot plants, if you see when you pluck a leaf from a plant, you may see that there are further linings. Okay, and those linings, they are arranged in different fashion. Those linings, we have named them veins. Those are the veins of the leaves. Okay, so in monocot plants, you have parallel venation. Means the veins, they are divided, or they grow like this. Okay, and you have often long narrow leaf, as you can see here in the diagram over here. In the dicot leaf, you have rather broad. In the dicot plants, you have broader leaves. Okay, and the venation, there is a network of veins. All right, means there is not just one venation over here, but rather this is further divided into smaller networks. So you can easily do this. You can pluck a leaf from a plant, and you can observe the kind of venation it is having, whether it is just having a parallel venation over here like this, or whether there is a network of veins. And you can also differentiate from the category of leaves, whether it has long narrow leaves or broad leaves. The other criteria of difference, could be the floral parts. In monocot, the floral parts are divided in multiples of 3, whereas in dicot, the floral parts are divided in multiples of 4 or 5. Moving on, let's again talk about the cotyledons. The cotyledons, they are called the seed leaves because in many instances, they emerge and become green when the seed germinates. So you know that there are monocotyledonous plants and there are dicotyledonous plants. So what happens is that these cotyledons, they are structure of the embryo. You know this. And these structures, they often grow into green parts when the plant, when this embryo further grows to develop into a plant, a proper plant structure. That structure of cotyledon that was there present inside the embryo, okay, that grows into greener parts. All right, so cotyledons are therefore known as seed leaves, because in many instances they emerge and become green when the seed germinates, means when the seed grows into an embryo and from the embryo to the plant. So the angiosperms, they divide into 2 categories, like I have been telling you: monocotyledonous, that seeds having single cotyledon, and dicotyledonous, seeds having 2 cotyledons. So finally, in the classification of kingdom Plantae, you have Thallophyta, or if you remember, that is commonly known as the algae. So these plants, they do not have a well differentiated structure. This is additional information. You may choose to remember this if you're interested, or if not, you may just have a close look at this, because further on in higher grades, when you will be learning about further distinctions of the Plantae kingdom, you will be encountering these terms again. Okay, this is an additional useful information for you. Algae can be divided into chlorophyceae, that is the green algae. Okay, this is the green algae. Phaeophyceae, this is your brown algae. And rhodophyceae, this is your red algae. These are all thallophytes. Okay, green algae, example Chlamydomonas, Volvox, Eulothrix, Pyrogera, etc. Brown algae, example Laminaria, Sargassum, Ectocarpus, etc. Rhodophyceae, that is your red algae, example Porphyra, Gelidium, etc. And bryophytes means those plants that have differentiated body structure, but there is no vascular bundle. I am abbreviating vascular bundle over here as BB. Okay, so bryophytes can be divided into 2 categories: liverworts, example Markensia, and mosses, example Sphagnum. Okay, then you have Terridophytes. If you remember, Terridophytes, they have differentiated body parts, and they also have vascular bundle. Vascular bundle is present, but there is no seeds. These plants do not bear seeds. Okay, and angiosperms, gymnosperms, if you remember, these are the further division of Fenerogams. Fenerogams are plants that are well differentiated and they have vascular bundle, and they are seed bearing plants, or they are flowering plants rather, you can say. In gymnosperms, you have naked seeds. Okay, example the pine seeds, or the deodar, the evergreen. Okay, all right. And in the angiosperms category, you have 2 divisions: the dicotyledonous plants and the monocotyledonous plants. 2 cotyledons, plants having 2 cotyledons, these are mustard, sunflower, etc. And plants only having 1 cotyledon, these are grasses, cereals, etc. Okay, now the Terridophytes, they are further classified into Xylophyta, example Xylotum, Mesipteris, etc. Lycophyta, example Selaginella, Lycopodium, etc. Sphenophyta, example Equisetum. Pterophyta, example Dryopteris, Azolla, Salvinia, etc. Remember, this is all extra information. If you're able to absorb this, well and good. If not, please have a glance at this. Please have a cursory look over here, and then you may skip on to the other parts. Gymnosperms, like I told you, the plant that have naked seeds. All right, they are further divided into categories like cycadales, cycas, coniferals, where you have the pine tree, your pinus, ginkgoels, okay, or ginkgoels, where you have the ginkgo biloba, and you have the nettles, where you have the nettles, Aphidera, etc. So these are the further groups, these are the further subdivision of the phylums, if you may say, okay, or further classes Alright, that this broader division is divided into. Which division among plants has the simplest organs? If you can recall, Thallophyta are those plants that do not have any differentiated body parts. So there is no differentiated body parts. So like I told you, the plant structure that would not have any differentiated body parts, that would be the most simplest. Alright, means there is no further complication, there is no advancement. So this is the most simplest organisms, Thallophyta, which is commonly known as algae. Okay. Then you have, how are Terridophytes different from Fenerogans? So if you remember, Terridophytes are those organisms that do have differentiated body parts, so are Fenerogans. And if you may remember, Terridophyte also have vascular bundle, so do have Fenerogans. But the difference lies over here on the bearing of seed. So Terridophytes, they do not bear seeds, they are seedless. Okay, they do not bear seeds, or they are rather seedless. And this is also your cryptogram, if you may remember. Why? Because the sexual organs in the Terridophytes, they are inconspicuous, means they are hidden, hence the name cryptogram, along with Bryophytes and Thallophytes. Phanerograms, they are seed bearing plants. Alright, they are seed bearing plants. They have fruits as well. So if you may remember, Fenerograms are further divided into Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. So the main difference between Terridophytes and Fenerograms is that Terridophytes, they bear seeds. Terridophytes, they do not bear seeds, they are seedless, and Fenerogams, they do bear seeds. Okay, these are the flowering plants. Okay, the sexual sexual organ here, they are distinct, whereas in Terridophytes, the sexual organs, they are not distinct, hence they are also known as cryptogams. Okay. The last question we have, how do Gymnosperms and Angiosperms differ from each other? So both Gymnosperms and Angiosperms, they are the category of Phanerogams. Okay, and Gymnosperms, they are those plants that bear seeds, but those seeds are not enclosed in any closed structure, they bear naked seeds. Alright, whereas Angiosperms, they bear seeds that are enclosed inside a structure, and this structure we call a fruit. Okay, enclosed within a fruit. So Angiosperms, they are further divided, if you may remember, into monocots, means seeds having one cotyledon, and dicots, means seeds having two cotyledons. Okay, the basic differences between these two, both of them are seed bearing plants, but in Gymnosperms, the seeds, they are scattered, they are naked, they are not enclosed in an outer structure, whereas in Angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed inside an outer structure. Within an outer structure, the seeds are enclosed within a fruit. So this is the major difference between Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. And with this, we have come to the conclusion of this part of the chapter, where we have learned about the plantae kingdom, we have learned about Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Terradophyta, and the Fenerogams. Okay, you have seen the basic differences, that the plants are divided into different body parts, into differentiated body parts. Alright, then plants who have vascular bundle, who do not have vascular bundle, and the ones who do have vascular bundle, how are they further differentiated, whether they have seeds, whether they don't have seeds. If they have seeds, like you can see over here, whether the seeds, they appear naked, or whether they are enclosed within a fruit. So in the further part of the chapter, we will be learning about the animal kingdom.